Hello everybody, welcome back to the Brothers Grim Dark. Today we have another unit focus, and it is Iyanden's proudest and greatest general, Prince Yriel. So, a little bit of background about Prince Yriel. He rose to command of Iyanden at a young age, and many doubted his capabilities in this position. And perhaps they were right to do so, for chaos struck, and he left Iyanden, abandoned them to go and deal with chaos, leaving pretty much the craft world undefended. But he was victorious and all was well, seemingly. But he was cast out for this, I guess, brash maneuver. So he left the craft world, but he took much of Iyanden with him in the process. However, he did return when High Fleet Kraken struck. And yeah, he showed up to save the day. But the situation was quite bad when he arrived, so he needed to take the Spear of Twilight from some fancy shriney place. And the Spear of Twilight is a bit of a dangerous weapon, so you sort of become kind of soulbound to this weapon, and it sort of gradually takes your life force over time, which is one of the reasons why I love Yriel and Iyanden in general, because they're all very just kind of tragic, but doing their best to survive. So yeah, he struck down presumably a Hive Tyrant, the leader of the High Fleet Kraken tendril that was attacking Iyanden, and saved the day, but in the process was bound to this weapon. And then further on down the road, during a boarding action, he was killed by a Demon Prince, which is not the best way to go, but the proud Iyanden took his body from the battle, and Yvraine was on the craft world back home, who, you know, maybe surprisingly to everybody watching, took the Spear of Twilight and stabbed it into Yriel, and some of the light force that the spear had taken over the years went from the spear back into Yriel, and he was reborn anew and continues to defend Iyanden to this day. So that's a bit of the background and lore on him. My model, because you know the Yriel model is pretty ancient now. I don't know how long it's been around, but pretty sure it was before this century. And yeah, so I converted my own one up, and he's probably my favourite unit in the army for that reason, just because I really like the look of Eldar in general. So I tend to not do a whole lot of conversion work, but converting is one of my favourite parts of the hobby. I love to convert in Kit Bash, but I generally just don't do a whole lot of it with my Eldar. But Prince Yriel gave me an opportunity to do this, so I think there's 9 kits maybe involved in his build. His base is off the Visarch, as you could guess. His head is from the new plastic Autarch kit, but I had to twist his top bun the other way around so it was floating the same way of his cloak. Same thing with his backpack, that's from the new Autarch kit, but I had to clip off the flag and turn it around so it was going in the right direction. The shaft of his spear is from, just the handle of his spear is from the Dire Avenger kit, and then the bit at the back is from the Howling Banshees kit, and the blade is from the Visarch kit still. His left hand is from the Farseer, plastic Farseer kit. Is that everything? I'm sure I'm forgetting something. But anyway, there's a good few kits in there. Oh yeah, he's got a little bit sticking up on his backpack, which is just from the Guardian Defenders kit. But yeah, there's a lot in there, and I just, I love, and his eye, actually, yes, his Eye of Wrath, that was maybe the most tricky and fiddly bit about the whole kit, because I had to carve that off of one of the helmetless heads from the Ranger kit, this eye, and then delicately cut around it, and then find a way to attach it to his face. But yeah, I'm really happy with how he turned out in the end, and I think he looks cool on the tabletop. But anyway, let's get to his data sheet and see what his stats are looking like. So his movement 7, pretty standard for in Aeldari. Weapon skill and ballistic skill 2+, as you would expect from an Autarch. Strength 3, toughness 3, it's just a puny little elf after all. He's 6 wounds, so that's an extra wound on top of the regular autarch, so nice there. And he's 5 attacks, which is just the same as the regular autarch. Leadership 9, 3 up save. And then weapons-wise, he comes with the aforementioned Eye of Wrath, which is just range 6, assault 1, strength 6, AP -3, damage 2, which on paper, sounds quite nice, just a little pip of something you can zap somebody before you charge them in combat. I've never had it do anything, I don't think. I think I've played maybe 10 games of Yriel. I don't think he's ever wounded anything with his eye, but we live in hope. He also has the Spear of Twilight, which is a really nice upgrade on the regular, what are they called? Starglaive. So the regular Starglaive is ×2 strength, AP -3, damage 2, and this is ×2 strength, AP -3, damage 3. So you just get an extra damage on him, which is pretty nice. He has Battle Focus and Strands of Fate, obviously. 4 shields, he's got a 4 up invuln save. He's a superlative strategist, just like the other autarchs, which basically means you get to use the command point reroll stratagem twice per phase. That's nice. Maybe if I played in a tournament again with him, I would use that. Here on the channel, we don't like to do command point rerolls because there's just other exciting things to use your stratagems and CP on. He's got Path of Command, so reroll 1 core aura. That applies to Iyanden infantry and Afraith infantry, which is the Corsairs. So if you do take Corsairs, he gets the the reroll 1s to them as well. And he's also Prince of Corsairs. So before the battle, when placing units into strategic reserves, if your army contains this model, you can have the power rating of Iyanden infantry units and Afraith units for the purposes of determining the combined power rating of units placed in strategic reserves. I've never used that either, just because I tend to like having most of my force on the battlefield at the start of the game, but it's an option, so that's quite nice. Warlord traits, he has to take the Iyanden one, which is it's probably the weakest of all the things that Iyanden come with, the Warlord trait, which is each time this warlord would lose a wound, roll a d6 on a 5+, that wound is not lost. It's not the worst, I have had that keep him alive in game. Recently he was playing fought against a Broodlord, and yeah, having that Warlord trait did keep him alive, but it's not the most flashy and exciting. There are other more flashy Warlord traits. But, it's there and it's not too bad. And that's kind of him. So in game, I use him as you might expect. He starts off the game really just as a force multiplier. I keep him with the main force of the main body of my force, and he kind of buffs up everybody, using that +1, that reroll 1's aura, that applies to all my Wraith constructs, applies to all my Guardians, doesn't apply to my Hornets, but it's pretty handy, it's the same as a Space Marine Captain, how useful things like that can be. And then as the game goes on, as things start to get tangled in combat, I sort of use him to suss out where a weak spot is, if one of my enemy's characters is getting into the fray, or if there's a powerful unit, like some warriors that's coming at him, he can be deployed to go and deal with that. If I lose him at that point in the game, it's not the worst thing in the world. As I say, I think we never covered points. So he has gone up. He was, he was 90 points, he has gone up to 95. I still think that's a steal. I think you can build a better autarch than him for sure, but not for 95 points. I think for 95 points, Yriel is a really good option. Especially if your army is kind of like mine, it's not too zippy, it's mostly foot slogging, you've got a fair bit of firepower and some good defensive buffing units like the Wraith Blades that can act as a bit of a roadblock. I think he's good for 95 points. Yeah, I generally use him later in game, sort of turn 3, 4. He'll go on a solo mission to try slow something down. If he dies at that point, that's okay. If he succeeds, all the better, right? So that's kind of what I've got to say about Yriel. He will always be my warlord, just because fluff-wise, I think he has to be. And his second in command is Yriel of Iyanden, obviously, because I feel like Iyanden, my Iyanden anyway, definitely prize Spirit Seers above Farseers. Sorry, Farseers, but most of my force is dead. So Yriel of Iyanden is usually his number 2 in command. But we'll get to her in another video. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little Tactica / hobby focus on Yriel. And yeah, we will catch you again soon. See you then.